Iran launches 3 satellites into space that are part of a Western-criticized program as tensions rise. Document spells out allegations against 12 UN employees. Israel says participated in Hamas attack, fighting across Gaza as UN aid agency faces more cuts. Today is Tuesday, January 30th, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. Iran says it has successfully launched 3 satellites into space, the latest for a program that the West says improves Tehran's ballistic missiles. The state-run IRNA news agency reported Sunday that the launch also saw the successful use of Iran's Simorgh rocket, which has had multiple failures in the past. The United States has previously said Iran's satellite launches defy a UN Security Council resolution and called on Tehran to undertake no activity involving ballistic missiles capable of delivering nuclear weapons. UN sanctions related to Iran's ballistic missile program expired last October. An Israeli document spells out allegations against a dozen UN employees the country says took part in Hamas's October 7th assault. The document claims 7 stormed into Israeli territory, including one who participated in a kidnapping and another who helped to steal a soldier's body. The allegations against staffers with the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees prompted Western countries to freeze funds vital for the body, which is a lifeline for desperate Palestinians in Gaza. The UN feared 9 of the 12 accused workers. 2 are reportedly dead, and the last is being identified. The accusations come after years of tensions between Israel and the agency. It employs roughly 13,000 people in Gaza. Israeli forces battled Palestinian militants in different parts of Gaza, even in northern areas where the army has been operating for months. Militants also fired a barrage of rockets on Monday at central Israel for the first time in weeks. Israel said ceasefire talks held Sunday were constructive, but that significant gaps remained in any potential agreement. The talks are meant to bring about some respite to war-torn Gaza and secure the release of more than 100 hostages still held by militants in Gaza. Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza has killed more than 26,000 Palestinians, most of them women and minors. North Korea says leader Kim Jong-un has supervised test firings of cruise missiles designed to be launched from submarines and also reviewed efforts to build a nuclear-powered submarine. The reports say those activities came as Kim reiterated his goal of building a nuclear-armed navy to counter what he portrays as growing external threats. The reports Monday came a day after South Korea's military said it detected North Korea firing multiple cruise missiles over waters near the eastern port of Sinpo, where the North has a major shipyard developing submarines. It was the latest in a streak of weapons demonstrations by North Korea, amid increasing tensions with the United States, South Korea, and Japan. Months-long tension between 3 coup-hit countries in West Africa and the regional bloc known as ECOWAS boiled over when the nations announced their immediate withdrawal from the bloc, accusing it of a lack of support and inhumane coup-related sanctions. The juntas of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso said on Sunday that instead of helping their countries fight security threats, ECOWAS imposed illegitimate, inhumane, and irresponsible sanctions, when they staged the coups to take their destiny into their own hands. It's the first time in the bloc's nearly 50 years that its members are withdrawing in such a manner. Analysts say it's an unprecedented blow to the body and a further threat to the region's stability. Protesting farmers have encircled Paris with tractor barricades in a battle with the government over their industry's future. The movement in France is another manifestation of a global food crisis worsened by Russia's war in Ukraine, a major food producer. French farmers argue that higher prices for fertilizer and other inputs have eaten into their incomes, and that France's massively subsidized farming sector is over-regulated and hurt by food imports from countries with fewer constraints. The French government has announced a deployment of 15,000 police officers to head off any effort by protesters to enter Paris. A years-long diplomatic conflict between Ukraine and Hungary took a step toward resolution during a meeting between their foreign ministers. But no breakthrough was reached on Hungary's blocking of a crucial European Union financial aid package for Kiev. The meeting near the Ukrainian city of Uzhhorod came as European leaders are scrambling to persuade Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán to lift his veto of $54 billion in EU aid to Ukraine. Hungary's foreign minister welcomed Kiev's steps to restore language rights for ethnic Hungarians in western Ukraine. But they were not enough to resolve the dispute that has dominated the country's poor relations for years. Supporters of prominent Russian opposition figure Vladimir Kara-Murza Jr. says he has disappeared from the Siberian prison where he was behind bars. The 42-year-old Kara-Murza is serving a 25-year sentence for treason. He was held in a prison in the Omsk region. But a letter sent to him by an activist and journalist was returned with the notation that Kara-Murza was no longer there. A lawyer for Kara-Murza said another lawyer who tried to visit him on Monday was told that he wasn't in the prison. Transfers within Russia's prison system are shrouded in secrecy, and inmates can disappear from contact for several weeks. Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni has unveiled Italy's big development plan for Africa at a summit of African leaders. The government is hoping the plan will help stem migration numbers, diversify energy sources, and forge a new relationship between Europe and the continent. 24 African leaders, top European Union and United Nations officials, and representatives from international lending institutions were in Rome for the summit. Italy hopes its development plan will create security and economic conditions that will create jobs in Africa and discourage Africans from making dangerous migrations across the Mediterranean Sea. Authorities in the Bahamas say they are cracking down on crime after the U.S. Embassy issued a security alert warning that the archipelago has reported at least 18 slayings so far this year. The number of killings rose to 19 over the weekend, with police holding a news conference on Sunday to talk about recent operations that led to the seizure of weapons, ammunition, and drugs. The U.S. Embassy said in a statement last week that most of the crime has occurred on the islands of New Providence and Grand Bahama, with retaliatory gang violence behind most of the killings. No foreigners have been killed. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the International News for Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.